This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at the Oaks. But before that, this video is brought to you by Mark Bauer and Alan McCone. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Oaks. It's a map by Farm Sim Briscoe. This map has been out for quite a long time. In fact, a year and a half at this point. And way back then, I did take a look at this map. And for whatever reason, I elected not to do a video on it. I did a look back through my Discord, and I discovered that it looked like maybe I was having some frame time issues on this map with my 3080, which gave me a bit of caution. Now, when I downloaded this map today and ran it against my system that I use for low-end systems, I didn't have any issues maintaining a solid 60 FPS. So I was like, okay, well, let's revisit this map. While I was doing my precursory look around on my gaming and recording system, I did notice that I wasn't getting 60 FPS everywhere. And I thought that was a little bit interesting. Now, I do believe that this may be a result of the map really not paying attention to the occlusion that is working with respect to Farming Simulator 22. And as a result, it's trying to render a whole lot of things with a lot of distance per my graphic settings on this gaming system. And on the light-end system, I've got the view distances much, much shorter. And therefore, even though we don't have the occlusion mapping with respect to this map functioning the way it does with Farming Simulator 22, since those view distances were so short on the lower end system's GPU settings, I wasn't running into those issues. Now, that is not a problem on the rework of this map, Vintage Oaks, which I did just release a video on because there was one little segment, and we'll go to that same point on this map. And I'll show you, I was having some weird occlusion going on when I was looking through a building on that map that doesn't happen here because, again, I don't think, for whatever reason, the occlusion function wasn't working on this map. It still isn't working so much on this map. So if you do have frame time issues, you may want to draw back your view distance settings. Let me read you the description. This is a 4X map for Farming Simulator 22 based on a real-life location of Cantley, Norfolk, UK. While it's not been able to scale the farms exactly to real life, I've done my best using some great mods. I wanted to create this map long before I have played Farm Sim and long before owning a PC. With no past experience in modding, I had to read and watch many long tutorials to help me with this project. I've had to ask many a question, and I've been overwhelmed with the level of support I've received. I'd like to give special mention to Farmer Bob. His tutorials have been a godsend and always been able to help me, point me in the right direction to help me with what's needed. Also like to thank FSG for setting me up with a private channel on his Discord to allow his trusted followers to test the map and give me feedback. One more special mention to Dave Langard, who's been along with me since day one on this map build and seen me through all the problems that I've had to deal with and overcome, not only in making the map, but also in my private life. A conversation we had back in May of 22 is what gave me the inspiration to move forward and create this map. Hope this map brings many people many hours of joy and fun. This map has taken me 8 months to complete, as well as over 1,000 hours, which has been difficult at times, but based on feedback, it's been well worth it. Any mods used in the Oaks map will remain in creation and the ownership of the original map author. Now, to that end, there are several required mods. We're going to go through that list here in a moment. A few things of notice, this map does have a custom soil map. A custom crop calendar. There's a note here that was provided by UK. The growth counter was provided by Disturbed. And, well, I think he's a little disturbed that people have taken that and reworked it without asking for permission. Now, I've used 3 barns in this map that most resemble the real-life version. I can't remember where or how I found these barns. I had to, well, obtain them with no errors. All credit goes to the original author, even though he has not been able to determine who that might be. With that, let's go ahead and load on in. Now, as far as required mods, and all of these will come up as you try to load the map if you don't already have them from the Giants Mod Hub. They are the additional decorations package, Big Barn, Brick Farmhouse, British Farmhouse, British Bale Shed, Chicken Coop, Concrete Shed Pack, Cow Farm Pack, Cow Shed Pack, DH Silo, the ESC Large Shed, the English Barn Pack, the English Shed Pack, the English Style Vehicle Barn Set. We also then have the Grain Shed Pack, Grain Silo System, Grain Storage Pack, Large Cowshed, Medium-Sized Warehouse, Meridian Storage Yard, Metal Fence with Gates, Modern Cow Barn, Old Farm Package, Old Fence and Gate, Old PGR Fence Pack, the Rustic Brick and Metal Fence Silage Shed Pack, and the Workshop Pack. So again, all of those will auto-download from the Giants Mod Hub if you do not already have them in your mod folder. But you will need to know all of those if you are looking to add this map to a multiplayer server. Now, in addition to all of those required mods, we are going to be using the mods we typically use when we look at maps. They are additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, and straw harvest. Now, as the map loads in, we're going to see a couple red errors pop up. And I'm going to talk to you about those. Some of them, I'm really not sure what they relate to. Others, I think, just are due to a file path issue in the map and will not have any gameplay problems whatsoever. Now, I did mention earlier that I loaded this system up, or this map up, on a system with low-end integrated graphics from AMD, and I had no issues whatsoever using my GPU settings for low-end systems in maintaining a nice solid 60 FPS on this map. Now, on my main gaming setup, which is a 4070 Ti Super at this point, I pull up the frame rates. You do see that we're hovering in the 50s. Now, if I rotate, you may see that changed. Now we're dropping down into 40s. We are recording at 1440p and playing at 1440p on the same system, so there is a little bit of a drag there. But as we continue to look around, you see that is popping back up there into the upper 50s. Very rarely does this land at a steady 60 FPS unless we are in the menu. Now, this will not affect gameplay. I have not noticed in the least any sort of stuttering or anything. But the reason I think that we are missing the occlusion that we should be having is, well, at this point, I'm staring at a stone wall. And I should not be able to see anything beyond the stone wall. But if we do look beyond the stone wall, when we get to the aerial portion of this map, we're going to find out that, well, I'm pretty much able to see all the buildings all the way across the map. So I think we are looking at a little bit of an issue with respect to the occlusion mapping on this map. So if you do suffer from frame rates for any reason, I would strongly suggest maybe dialing back your view distances. With that disclaimer, let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. This is a 4X map, as I mentioned, therefore it is going to be for PC only. We do have all the standard crops available to us here in FS22. In addition, I do have the premium DLC activated, so we do have our red beets, carrots, and parsnips. If we take a look at our lands overview, you'll see we start out by owning several farmlands. Farmland ID 80 is the main starting farm. That can be bought in any alternate game mode for $541,000. In addition to that, we have Farmland ID 91, 128, 3, 81, 82, 83, 86, 87, 88, and 89. There is a biogas plant on this map that is located right here, and that is going to be at Farmland ID 117, right beside, Farmland ID 117. 117 and 118 are placeable sites where you can place things. We also have placeable sites at Farmland ID 109, 105, 106, 107, and 108. Now, there are several other farms on this map. We have a cow farm at farmland ID 89. We do own that at the start. We also have a cow farm at farmland ID 58. Farmland ID 125 is also a cow farm, and farmland ID 95 is a cow farm. We have a chicken farm at farmland ID 99. That is located just north here of farmland ID 3. And then we have an arable farm located at farmland ID 94. It is located here to the extreme north, right around the middle of the map. That we bought for $231,000. Let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the farmland we own, as well as the farmland that we can buy, how large that farmland is, if that farmland includes any field or fields, what is included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? We're then going to be able to cross-reference that with our field calculator screen, which is going to show us the sizes of each particular field. See, we have fields that range in size from fairly large, being over 30 hectares in size, to smaller. We've got fields that range from 3 hectares or less. There we have 1.5 hectares at field number 62. We do have a custom crop counter available on this map. You can see that listed here. Do note there is no growth schedules for sugarcane or cotton. So if you do play with the growth schedule enabled, even though sugarcane and cotton are available on the map, they're not going to be able to be planted or harvested with seasonal growth enabled. Now, if you do turn off seasonal growth, then of course you should be able to plant and harvest sugarcane and cotton as well as sell it. And speaking of selling, let's go ahead and check our prices screen. And what you're going to find is, well, we don't have the ability to sell olives, nor do we have the ability to sell cotton. So if you are going to play with the growth schedule disabled, do not plant cotton, because you will need to put down your own sell point if you wish to sell it. Now, we do have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, and our silage, hay, straw, and grass. With respect to base game production items, I will want to point out that there are several items here that are listed as being sellable at the warehouse. The warehouse is a production point, and if you happen to go and buy the warehouse, well, then you're not going to be able to sell goods at the warehouse. So on all of these where we have just the warehouse listing, be aware if you do want to buy the warehouse and you do want to produce flour, for example, you will need to put something down in order to sell the flour that you are producing, because the only place that it is accepted currently is in the warehouse for which you are now storing it in. That's going to be affected for our flour, our cake, as well as our fabric and clothing, sugar as well. This is also going to affect our cereal, our chocolate, and our planks and furniture. Now, with respect to lime, we do not have the ability to buy bulk lime, so you will need to get it from the shop with big pallets or big bags. And we do not have any way of getting rid of our stones, so if you do play with stones enabled, well, you're going to need to put down your own stone sell point. With respect to a farm production pack and our platinum expansion, we do not have the ability to sell either of those things without putting down additional sell points. We do have the ability to get rid of our premium expansion products and props, because they are all available at the farmer's market. If you are playing with pumps and hoses, we do have the ability of getting rid of our separated manure, and those playing with straw harvest do have the ability to sell your hay and straw pellets. We do not start out with starting machinery in any game mode. We have 2 cow barns at the start. They are down at farm land ID 89. We do have contracts available on this map, and we do not own any production chains at the start. Then lastly, we do not have any collectibles. We don't really need to show off the starting vehicles because we don't own or lease any of those. And this map does not have any custom vehicles or implements added. Let's go ahead and check build mode. With all of those required mods, you're going to find that we're going to have a large amount of things added to your build mode with respect to placing things down. As far as farms being customizable, I was able to sell lots of things with respect to this map at several various farms, but one thing, this giant building we're going to see on a couple farms, this big brick building, I was not able to sell those. Do have some sheds that are a part of the map. They don't appear to have any store icons, but we do have the ability to place those down as well. Same goes for some silos. And then this is Farm Sim Briscoe's very first map. Like I said, it came out over a year and a half ago at this point. He has now released 3 maps. The most recent is one that we just recently covered in Vintage Oaks. So we have diesel production is something that we can place. So there's our flour mill, sugar, and biogas plant. We have several placeable animal buildings as well, and both included with the map and included as required mods. And then if we take a look at our ground textures, several ground textures. All of those appear to be fairly normal that we've seen on other maps. As far as our plants go, we have our flowers from Erlengrot in our other bushes, and we have a full assortment of placeable trees. Now, as far as the main starting farm here at Farmland ID 80, we do have our wardrobe trigger and our sleep trigger here at the cow farm. Or sorry, at the farmhouse. Got a little storage shed and a little garage shed here also beside the farm. And then we have the farm itself right on the other side of this hedgerow. This big brick building, for whatever reason, I was not successful in being able to sell it. Did trying to click several different areas on the building, and I was just completely unsuccessful in getting rid of it. You see, it's just a huge, large storage shed. You have our silo, dump, and fill triggers located here. In addition, I was not able to sell all of these bins. They were permanent. If we sell the silo, just basically the base game silo structure and rate will go away. Oh, we got a little midget door. I can't go in it, but we got a little midget door. Some more storage. We have 2 fuel tanks on this map, or on this farm. One right here and one right there. And we have ourselves a workshop trigger. Now, I think you may be better served with respect to loading this map up in farm manager mode. That way you have a larger bank balance. Since you don't start out with any starting machinery, you're going to need to buy some starting machinery, and then you can buy the appropriate land that you want from one of the various farms that are available on this map. I also feel that this would be a very good map with respect to multiplayer. Now we're going to take and fly down to the second farm, which is going to be the cow farm at Farmland ID 89. That is also owned at the start. While we're making our way down there, you can see we have a little bit of a residential area, some industrial part of town over here as well. And this is the cow farm. Or at least the cow farm that we own at the start. So we have our milk trigger. Inside here we have our food trough. We're going to be able to fill manure here. We have our manure heap. We're going to have to load that because that is right there on top of that building. Same with this trigger here to load our manure heap right there. So we have 2 manure heaps, one for each cow building. We have our slurry point there and our cow delivery point. 140 cows in total. Then we have the same matching building located right here for another 140 cows in total. Nice storage sheds here for bales or implements. And then these are going to be three-sided silage bunkers that are covered. You have that there. Diesel storage. And then just another machine shed going on inside. That is the cow farm at Farmland ID 89. It is, in essence, a second farm, but we do own both the starting area and here at the start in new farmer mode. Now, the third farm that we're going to talk about is available over here at Farmland ID 58, right by Field 58. It's on the eastern side of the map. We're going to find that located right here. We started here, then we moved down to here, and now we are all the way over here. We've completely passed the town. We'll come back to that area later. So as we come into the lane, we're going to have our farmhouse here on the left with our wardrobe and sleep trigger. Pretty much the same setup as we had at the starting farm as far as the house goes, and a small garage shed next to it. Further down, we have some more sheds. We have fuel storage. And then around the side, here we have that Meridian storage tank. Storage silos. And this will hold water, lime, liquid fertilizer, seed, herbicide, or solid fertilizer. So we're going to be able to buy the product in and then pull the product out. Here we have another one of those large brick sheds. Again, I was not successful in selling this building anywhere that it exists on the map. We have 2 three-sided silage bunkers back to back here. 1 and 2. Got a third one up here before we go down the lower level to the cow area. So this is where we're going to pull out our manure. We have our food trough here. And then our cow buy point is going to be located right there. 300 cows in total at this shed. We're going to have our milk trigger. And then we're going to have to come inside of here to blow in our straw. We've got a second building over here, a little bit different than the first, but similar nonetheless. 200 cows in this building. We have our food here. We're going to find our milk trigger again, and that in the building. And again, we're going to have to come through here and blow our straw. We have a slurry pit. And then our manure point. And that is the cow farm here at Farmland ID 58. About middle to the map, we have Farmland ID 125. That is going to be where we're going to find another cow farm. This is quite a large operation. So you see here we have three-sided silage bunkers here. We have another one of those Meridian storage silos. We have a large silo complex here to store our grain. A couple large concrete buildings. We're going to be able to put implements in here, or you could basically use this to tip to ground grain if you wanted to. Nice reset of sheds for bales or implements. Some more brick sheds. We have our farmhouse. Now, we do not have a farmhouse sleep trigger there. We will need to put down our own. Then we have 2 cow sheds of different design. First one will hold 120 cows. We have our food trough. Here we're going to have our slurry point. Our milk point is going to be right here. We have our second cow building. Another 150 cows available there. We have our milk point. And our slurry point. And our food trough. Now, I believe at this farm I was fully successful in selling everything at this farm. We have another cow farm here on the corner of this road. This is going to be located at farmland ID 94, located right here between fields 28 and 31 in the northeast portion of the map. So we have our farmhouse with our sleep and wardrobe trigger. We're going to come through the gate, and we're going to be able to go either direction. Some nice machine storage sheds. We have a large silo here to dump and fill our grain. Around the back, we have Meridian storage tanks for liquid fertilizer and herbicide, as well as solid fertilizer in lime. We have a fuel point. Get out of the trees. We've got a nice bale shed here. 2 3-sided silage bunkers. And then we have an open cow pasture. This open cow pasture is going to be able to hold 100 cattle. We have a food trough, we have a water trough, and then we have our milk trigger. Now, just up the road, we're going to come to an arable farm at farmland ID 94. We're going to find it tucked away here in the trees, and it's going to be right behind our sawmill. So we have the sawmill there, and then we have the farm here. So we do have a farmhouse with sleep trigger. Couple nice sheds. We've got another one of those large concrete buildings there. Fuel. We have a grain silo. We have another 3-sided silage bunker. And then we have another one of the Meridian storage silos here. I do believe I was also completely successful in selling everything at this farm. Here we have our sawmill. So we have our pallet spawn point inside of here. We then have our wood cell trigger, our wood cell point, interactive icon, and our wood chip spawn point. I'm going to continue to make our way across the northern edge of the map, and we're going to make our way over to the vehicle dealer. We also have several points over here where we could place additional buildings. And way off. All right, we're now looking all the way across the map. And you see those large structures centered there on the map? Well, those are the big silos in the town at the very southern edge of the map. Typically, they would not render if the view distances were set up, in my opinion, better. And that is why I think Well, we're seeing frames 49 to 50 on this map with my system at this point. I did not run into that issue again with my low-end system because I have the view distance dialed back quite a bit in the GPU or in the graphics settings of the game. We do have some utility poles on some of these fields. They do have collisions, so you will need to work around those. So once again, to iterate that point, if you are suffering with frame time issues on this map, maybe dial your view distance back a little bit, and that might help you out quite a bit. So here we have a grain sell point. We have several placeable areas here for productions or other things. And then we have our vehicle shop. Sorry, I was trying to figure out which side of the building closest to the road that wrapped around this whole structure. We had our trigger. Let's go ahead and get our Mahindra so we can see where vehicle spawns. Vehicle's going to spawn over here in the parking lot to the side of the building. A fairly large area for our vehicles to spawn. And then we have our dealer trigger located right here. Now I want to make my way down the western side of the map at this point because I want to make my way over to the chicken farm. So we can get a little bit of a feel for how the land is on this map by just kind of looking across. I would say we have some nice rolling hills. Yeah, Field 7's got a nice load point here. A little bit of a standing water pond here in the middle of Field 7. Something else you'll have to avoid with respect to hired help or horseplay. Now let's talk a little bit about our scoring as we are making our way down. We're going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such. We have 6 productions built into this map. We have a BGA, sugar mill, flour mill. We have the sawmill. We have a diesel production, as well as a storage warehouse. With respect to the ability to sell all our basic crops, animal outputs, and productions, well, we're going to be giving the map 3/4 of a point there because we do have some issues with respect to the ability to sell olives and cotton. In addition, we do not have the ability to buy bulk lime, but that is not factored into our scoring, nor do we have the ability to sell our stones. Here we have 4 large chicken coops. These are going to be able to store 1,500 chickens apiece. So we have our chicken delivery point. We have our food. And then as far as our eggs are concerned, they are going to spawn inside of here. Then we have this large grass area beside this chicken coop. And the way this lane comes in, it's almost like this was intended as a farm area. Well, here you go. You got a one large, massive area. You can put down whatever you want, or just buy it and use it for silage production. So each of these coops is going to store 1,500 chickens apiece. So it's going to be 6,000 chickens in this area. And all the buildings are the same, so you're going to find your eggs just inside the door. With that, let's go ahead and check out our animal food requirements. We do have fairly standard animal food requirements across all of our animals. And now to get on with our fly around portion of the map, We're going to come back here to our starting farm. So we do have a common starting point. So here we have our starting farm and our farmhouse. From here, let's make our way around to the southern part of the map. Again, remember, we see all those silos now. We saw then when we were way on the other edge of the map. A nice little residential area in here. First cow farm we looked at, it's right there. We got a train line that runs through here. And this is going to be one of our grain sell points. This is going to be identified as Yar Grain Limited. We're going to go up a little bit to Global Grain. We have our sugar factory located here as well. We have British Sugar Grain sell point, a sugar beet sell point. We have our BGA. We have our flour mill. We have a grain sell point over here by the flour mill. And we have our diesel production also down here. So we have one grain sell point there. We have another grain sell point located right here. And I mentioned since we've already done the Vintage Oaks map video, which is kind of a 80s nostalgia redo of this map. It's quite a bit different. There are 19 different farms on that map. So if you haven't seen that video, go check that out. It was published just a few days ago. So here we have this silo. We've got this shed in here. And I mentioned in that video, when I was looking through here, the occlusion mapping was basically preventing me from seeing anything beyond this opening. It was occluding everything. It was telling the GPU, don't render anything past that opening. Well, we're not having that problem here. And I don't really know what's causing that problem on the other map, but the reason I think maybe we're not having any occlusion mapping at all is because, honestly, the only thing the GPU should be rendering is that wall. But I do believe that it's basically rendering everything past that wall, basically to infinity and beyond. All right, no more Buzz Lightyear. On the other side of the tracks, we do have our sugar beet only sell point. Loop back around. This is going to be our sugar mill. Our sugar dump point, or sugar beet dump point for the mill is going to be located right here. Our pallet spawn point is inside of this building. And then our interactive icon is going to be right around the corner. Over here we have our fuel production. Here we're going to draw our fuel out. And we're going to deposit our fuel here, or our inputs, and we have our interactive icon. So for fuel, we're going to need to deliver canola, sunflower, or soybean, and we're going to get diesel. We, of course, have our sawmill, which is going to take normal inputs and output planks and wood chips. We have our normal flour mill. We have our sugar beet factory, which is sugar and sugar beet cut. And then we have our BGA. So speaking of our flour mill, we're going to come back over here on this side of the tracks. We're going to skip the BGA for now. And we have our flour mill located right here. So we have an interactive icon at the roll-up door. We have our dump point, and then our pallet spawn point is under this shed. Around the corner, we have another grain sell point. Then we have several plots that we can buy and put additional production into. And we have our BGA with 1, 2, 3, 5 three-sided silage bunkers and the BGA itself. Now off to the east, that is where we had the third cow farm that we took a look at. We're going to turn a little bit and make our way up this general direction. With respect to the farms being customizable, we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point there. While we can sell a lot of the things on a lot of the farms, there are some things on several farms that cannot be sold. And as a result, we are going to take off a little bit of points there. It's not a huge big of a deal, but you know, if you want to completely wipe the farm area out and start from scratch, if you will, then you may be a little bit handicapped. This is going to be our animal dealer, as well as few sell points. So we have our animal dealer located right here. We do have animated animals in our animal pen, which is always a good thing to see. We have a bale sell point here as well. Continuing to the east, we're going to have another grain sell point. Buildings where purposely are using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures. We're going to give the map 3/4 of a point here. There's a lot of these houses, a lot of these other buildings that are using some older, flatter building textures. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something that I did want to note. It is something that we do look forward to having in FS22, is making use of the new texturing that is available to us as a result. So here we have our grain sell point. And then right across the street, you saw we have another little building site where we can put down additional production, build out a farm, or whatever. Here we have a second village, kind of a northern village. And we've already looked at this farm. Right down the street from that, we do have fuel. We also have a farmer's market. And then this is going to be a maintenance shop. Another farm here that we already took a look at. Let's divert to the east again. In the extreme northeast portion of the map, we have another grain sell point. It's going to be located by Field 32. That's going to be right there. And now we're going to kind of diagonal across the map because we have a couple more points of interest down south of Field 6. Where we have fuel station, we have storage building, and then we have another grain silo. So that's going to be Farmland ID 91 and 126. Those are actually owned at the start in new farmer mode as well. So those are technically, I believe, a part of the starting farm. So that should be overall all of the different sell points and buy points on the map. Once again, you can see See those buildings way down at the extreme southern edge of the map. Typically, they would not be rendering. And also, we're seeing trees way, way further off than we typically would. And that's what's drawing my frames down on this system. So again, depending on what your settings are, you may not have that issue. Even though we were seeing frames as low as the 40s and in the 50s, it is extremely smooth. I'm not feeling as if we're stuttering. I'm not feeling as if we're being drawn down at all. So with respect to trigger and interactive areas being clearly marked, we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point there. It just feels like we're taking a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there with respect to this map, because there are a few areas where I would like to have seen indicator markers showing where things are spawning. As such, that's going to give this map a score of 4 out of 5. A very respectable score for your first time out indeed. Now, of course, this map has going through a few different updates. We're currently at version 1.0.0.7, but at any rate, still a very, very nice map for someone's maiden voyage in map making. He does have 2 other maps available over at his itch.io site, and I did cover both of those already previously in the channel. One was Saxthorpe Farm, and the other, as I mentioned earlier, was Vintage Oaks. So here we have another Meridian storage silo, another fuel point, 2 more sheds. And then we have a large silo complex right here, and another one of those huge and unsellable brick buildings. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below with respect to the Oaks map, again by Farm Sim Briscoe. This map has been out, like I said, for quite a long time now. I started to take a look at it when it first released, and I had those frame issues, and there were some other issues within the log itself, and I held off on doing a map tour. I think, quite honestly, I forgot about the map, and it wasn't until he released his Vintage Oaks map earlier in the week that I was reminded that, oh wait, there is another map out there. Let's go ahead and go and do a little bit of a revisit. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which version do you like? Do you like this one? Or do you like the Vintage Oaks? There's a tick up in the upper right corner. Go ahead and take you straight on to that video. Go watch both, then come back and let me know. Until next time, happy farming.